quick review of Harissa quick and easy wax strips. They are quick and easy. They are slightly toxic for super sensitive people, which is why I was wearing the bandana over my nose. It would not be easier to boil up your own sugar solution and use that for waxing, but it would be less toxic and cheaper if you want to put in the time and effort to get just the right consistency. Hey, it's Emily here with Super Sensitive Human, and now that my legs are all red and raw, but most importantly, hair-free, I'm going to talk to you about a little problem I have with shoes. My problem with shoes is that I don't have a single pair right now that is appropriate for walking in long distances and has a good fit and a good style. And I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I find with shoes and the search for the perfect shoe and what I think makes a good shoe. And I'm going to review some new shoes, some paleo barefoot type shoes at the end, so stay tuned.
Shoes.
So here is a pile of shoes that I currently own, including some new pairs that I'm going to try on. What I look for in a shoe is a healthy shoe, by which I mean has a flat sole with no heel, flexible, shaped like a foot. And for the desert, I also want a shoe that is relatively lightweight because I don't need any snow or waterproofing.
Barbie Dance Club!
I can feel the night when I see the daylight. I should be alright when I see the night. Can you feel the night? Whoa, no, can you feel the night?
If you're wondering about my tattoo, it says Allegheny, which is where I'm from, the Allegheny Mountains of Pennsylvania, and I did it myself with a barrel cactus needle and charcoal about 10 years ago. So, people say that your tattoo might fade if you do it with charcoal, but it hasn't faded at all. It's still the same. So maybe I'll do a video on that someday, on how to give yourself a stick and poke charcoal cactus needle tattoo. I tried to use hawthorn because there isn't really cactuses in the Alleghenies, but the hawthorn was a little bit too blunt for me. So the first letters are from the hawthorn needle, and they're a little bit fatter and more messy than the other letters. Nothing in this video is in any way sponsored, but if you want me to sponsor your shoes, go ahead and send them to me, but I'm not gonna lie if I don't like it. Alright, so now I'm gonna explain the shoes. They're not all bad. Some of them are fine shoes, but they're just not right for everyday use. So I'll go through the least appropriate ones first. The least appropriate shoe for where I live in the desert is this Steger muckluck. It's label Steger, S-T-E-G-E-R. These are fairly expensive muckluck that is made of real leather and canvas, hand sewn together. It has like this kind of gum, I don't know what you call it, but a very flexible sole, totally squashy, and so this wins the contest for a flat shoe and a shoe that doesn't smush your foot into an unnatural shape, and flexible sole for ultimate movement, but it just doesn't have that many uses. Because one thing, you can really only use it also in like pretty dry snow because they're not waterproof. You could put a waterproofing spray on it, but it's still not going to be really that waterproof, so you don't want to use it in super slushy snow because it's going to get your feet wet eventually. But your feet can be warm. Your feet can be warm and wet for a while because they have these wool inserts that will keep them quite warm, especially with the amount of space that there is in the shoe for your foot to move around and get circulation. Next great shoe that's also inappropriate for the desert is the Bogs neoprene topped water boot for puddles and gardening and fun things like that. They're warm, they're comfortable. You can use them as a snow boot. So they get a thumbs up. They're just obviously not going to wear them every day, and I never wear them here except for weed whacking to protect my shins from weed whacker clumsiness. We have the vintage cowboy boot, which you would think would be appropriate for the desert, but it's really not because you can't walk very far in them without it being uncomfortable. You can ride a horse in them, not walk in them. The problem with a cowboy boot and anything like this that has big heels is that it screws up your alignment of your whole body, which if you want to know all about that, read anything by a lady named Katy Bowman, K-A-T-Y, Bowman. She is an expert on alignment and sort of like paleo, rewilding, health and movement topics. And so she'll explain to you that, you know, if you stand up and you have this heel on here, then your body, if you were a straight board, then with the heel, your body would tilt way far over like this. But you're not a board, so you end up compensating by bending your knees and pushing out your butt, and over time that's definitely will cause you pains. So heels are really a big no-no. You have this kind of heel. You got some Isaac Mizrahi for Target Faux snakeskin here. These are definitely inappropriate for almost any situation except photo shoots and being swept off your feet. Here we have the Adidas Sambas, which are my favorite shoe previously. The problem with these is that I've become accustomed to wanting something lighter, and these are fairly heavy and thick. They're good for watery situations because they have such a thick leather. I've been wearing men's sneakers for the last, since 6th grade, basically. I always choose men's sneakers and never the women's, because I don't like the way they shape the women's ones. I don't like their styles and their colors. So I started 5th or 6th grade with a pair of Nike high-top basketball shoes, which I was pretty self-conscious about because the other kids would be like, are those boys' shoes? And then one day, this really cute boy, Steve Deal, who moved to us from West Virginia, he had a southern accent, he could jump real far, skills that you need to have to impress girls in elementary school. Maybe that's why I still like a boy with a southern accent. Steve Deal. Anyway, Steve Deal approved of my Nike high tops, and then I was confident in my transgender footwear for the rest of my life. Thanks, Steve. I've been wearing these shoes for about 10 years, and probably had like 7 pairs or something. And they are my favorite shoe for fit. I have a fairly narrow foot, so I don't have to worry about the toe box not being big enough, which is the problem on most modern shoes, which I'll demonstrate later. I really like the Samba. One thing I like about it is that it has this pattern on the bottom, which is fun for me because I go out walking at the petroglyphs, and all the petroglyphs around here have this pattern, which is probably a sun pattern of concentric circles. And so when I step on the ground in front of the petroglyph, then I make the same pattern that's on the wall, and that's really cool because I feel like I'm connected to my ancestors or somebody's ancestors. But the Adidas Samba also fails in the way most sneakers fail. It's not as bad as a running shoe, but it has a higher heel than it does a toe, which gives you a little lift, which still isn't ideal. It's actually more ideal to have flat, totally zero, or even negative, because the negative sort of replicates you sinking into the soft ground. You got your Keds and your Vans, which are almost the same in style, but the Keds are a little bit more slender of a shoe. The Vans are a little bit fatter. And the Keds have, I think the back scrapes my heel more. The back definitely, well, the back of the Keds definitely scrapes my heel, and so I can't wear them for very far. I can only wear them for like, you know, a 10-minute walk. The Vans I don't think has the same heel scrape going on, but this pair of Vans is too small for me, so I can't tell you exactly. If you want to trade something for a pair of 8.5 men's Vans that are almost new, hit me up, because these ones don't fit me. But they have more lightness and flexibility than my Sambas, which is why I prefer something like this right now. The Ballet flat from Target, you'd think that this would be a great shoe and comfortable and everything, but it's not. It's like you really have to kind of smush your foot in there into the toe to make it stay on, because it wants to come off the back, so it has to fit real tight, and because of that it is not very comfortable. It scrapes your heel and squashes your toes at the same time. So maybe there's like a different ballet flat out there that doesn't do that, but this is not the one. So this shoe's like a total fail, because it's just so, it's a totally like only a fashion shoe, which to me is not good enough for anything at all. Now here, this is an interesting shoe. My friend Jason at Laughing Crowe Leatherworks makes shoes and helps people make shoes fit to their feet by making their own little foot tracings and molds. And so he's gotten really advanced at this. This is like a super simple version of his shoes. You can make your normal shoe with a sole and everything, laces and boots and all that. So this one is really not comfortable though. The way that it's sewn here, you can see that my heel has slipped off the back over top of the stitching, and so I'm standing on the stitching if I wear this, which isn't fun. And it's just kind of tight, like the whole thing is sort of too stiff and tight. And you can wear these in the water and then walk in them, and they'll kind of soften them up, maybe oil them, but I don't know, this just isn't a comfortable shoe for me to wear. I'm thinking about like maybe cutting off the back so I can just have like some kind of slide. Maybe that would help. It's also not appropriate for wearing like on some surfaces, because it's gonna wear off. Has no bottom on it. The bottoms are gonna wear out, and it's gonna be slippery because it has no traction if you need some traction. This is the $1 used flip-flop from the thrift store. You don't want to get a $1 flip-flop at the dollar store because it's going to break, but these ones were apparently more well constructed to begin with. This is the #1 shoe that I wear right now, but if you ask Katie Bowman about the flip-flop, the problem is that the grip of your toes on it over time is not good for your gait or your body, so it's more of a short-term shoe, but at least your foot has plenty of room to slide out. You can see how the flip-flop, unlike most shoes, is shaped like a foot, shaped like a sort of a fan shape, whereas most shoes point and pinch together your toes at the end, and see the difference there. So flip-flop definitely has that going for it. The classic Chuck, these ones also I don't wear ever. They don't fit me very well. I don't like the way they feel. They squash my toes at the tip. Maybe they're just the wrong size. I'm not. This particular one has like a super thick padding, which I don't like. I want a medium padding. I like a little bit of padding. I don't want to walk around barefoot all the time, like especially in the house, because the hard floor is really kind of hurts the bottom of my feet. I'd rather walk barefoot outside, but these ones just have too much padding and they're very pillowy. So you want to buy a pair of men's size 8 ultra padded high top sneakers, let me know. So now we get into the paleo sort of barefoot shoes that are designed for barefoot enthusiasts. Here we have the Earthrunner sandal, which I did a whole review on these that you can watch, and I do approve of the Earthrunner sandal. I'll give it a thumbs up. But mine were outside and they got wet, and then they were outside in the hot 110 degree heat here, and they're all curled up like a tire. So I need to re-wet them and wear them and squash them back out again. I've had them for about a year, so they're getting a little old and crusty now in general, and there's nothing wrong with the Earthrunner. I'm just kind of like bored of wearing it all the time for my only shoe, I guess, which is, it's a good thing. I wore it for my only shoe for a year, and now it was good enough for that. Now I'm kind of bored with it though. Maybe I just need a new pair with a different color. Finally, we get to the Vivo Barefoot shoes. This one's called the Primus road shoe. It's got the thinnest sole of any shoe that I've ever tried on, and so it's not very comfortable to wear in the house because it has like almost zero padding, but it's really comfortable to wear because it's so flexible, and it does fit really nicely as far as feeling good on your foot and you feel spry and light. It's made of mesh mostly, and my main problem with this shoe is I just don't like the black and white style. It's like they took a shoe that already looks kind of like a clown shoe or a bowling shoe to begin with because of the way that they're trying to make it better shaped to the human foot, and they're just like, don't fix it, feature it. So they just made it look even more like a bowling shoe by making it this weird two-tone color, which is not ideal. I don't know. I'm gonna put some stripes or something in there. The other thing I don't like about it is that my foot's so dirty on the bottom. I gotta wipe it off before I put it in the shoe because I gotta return it. Okay. The other thing that I don't like is because I have a very pretty narrow foot, when I put the shoe on and lace it tightly for me, it gets kind of like a saggy baggy elephant thing going on here. It's all squishy because my foot's not filling it up. So for me, I could stand to have it like a quarter, half-inch less wide, then it'd look less stupid, and I would probably, if the shoe was less wide, more designed for my specific foot, and not so two-toned, I would probably keep this shoe and use it for hiking and running because I really like how light it is. And finally, we have the Vivo Barefoot Motus, I think. Yeah, this is the Motus, and this one is thicker than the last one I showed you. Got a better padding, better for wearing indoors on hard surfaces, but it's also a lot fatter than the other one, so I just don't like the way that it looks on my foot. I want a shoe that's basically like some kind of hybrid. My ultimate shoe would be a hybrid of this and this. It would be a little bit narrower for my foot, like this one, but it would have a thin sole and be light like this one, maybe made of mesh. It would have a design more like this one than this weird bowling shoe design, something a little bit cooler, and that would be my ultimate shoe. So that's my challenge to the shoemakers, is some kind of compromise here. I think the thing that's wrong with most shoes as far as compromising foot health, which in most adults, their toes are just all gnarly. My toes are not too bad because I've probably been barefoot and wearing these large men's shoes for a long time compared to my narrow foot. I only have a little bit of hammer toe going on, but a lot of people's toes are just totally jacked up in different directions and squunched up. I think that one of the biggest problems is that they tend to cut off the pinky toe, and really it's like they do okay on this side, and then on this side they don't leave enough room for your pinky toe over here. So you can kind of hold your shoe up and compare it to the shape of your foot and see how it works in there. Make sure that there's enough room for all your toes when you're standing on them and it's spread out. If you trace your foot like so, yeah, you can see there how the toes are not the same at all. Even on my narrow little girl foot, their toes are all fanned out much more than they are on this shoe. I mean, part of that's because they give you like this extra point on the end, so really your toe's not even up in there, but even so, you can see that it gets quite narrow when the foot actually fans out.
I can feel the night when I see the daylight. I should be alright.